Welcome to week 1, day 2 of our Women of Advent podcast. My name is Sarah Street.
I'm Mandy Slagle.
And I'm Tammy Gomez.
And today we're focusing on how Mary's yes changed the world. And so the question that we start with today is, how do you experience God calling you to say yes to something unexpected in your own life and in your ministries?
Whenever I think about wanting to say no to actually something, the opposite of yes, I think of my own call to ministry. And since my early years in college, I had thought, I'm getting these Master of Divinity packets. I'm interested in seminary. And then I kept putting them aside going, oh, no, not me, not yet. This is not where my voice is supposed to be. Until finally, Phil and I were on the way down to his parents' house to get announced to them that we were engaged. And he looks over at me as we're driving down I-5. And he's like, why are you crying? And I was like, because we're getting married and I'll never go to seminary. And he's like, Tammy, we're getting married. You're not dying. And so I think there's something to, it's okay to know that there's waiting and changes and that sometimes saying yes, it's okay that life does change and life also goes on when you say yes.
Yeah.
So I appreciated him kind of encouraging me. And I think that we need those people around us, that when we're terrified to say yes, whether it's an angel or a potential spouse, to give us that kick in the butt.
I love Sometimes we need those literal nudges and figurative nudges to move us forward in ministry. Your story reminded me of my own because I had so much resistance to my calling in ministry. And some of that came from the systems around me that told me that women weren't allowed to be pastors. And so I had turned that off from a place that I could do. And then even in knowing that it was still possible, I had already said no, and so I was not doing it.
Yeah, that book was closed, right?
That book was closed, and my mom was sitting next to me in church and saw something come up for a youth minister, and she literally nudged me and said, you should think about that. And that moved me toward that. So sometimes it comes from angels, sometimes it comes from feelings, sometimes it comes from future spouses, and sometimes it comes from your mother too.
Totally. I, for myself, I'm a very slow processor, so it kind of takes me a while to get used to the idea of something. I'm a pretty classic Enneagram 9, so I have to think about something from all sides of a thing before I can really totally dive in. So that can sometimes, it makes me nervous when I have to make a decision, and I can tend to stay stuck if I don't, really lean into it. And so one of the beauties of inviting God, into those processes is kind of, discernment, that gift of discernment. And I feel like for me, it's something that God's really given me and has sharpened kind of over the last several years of decision making and mistake making and all that kind of stuff, to where when it's a yes, I can know it in my core. If it's a no, I can, I know that no, that's not right, or yes, that's right. So it's this part of inviting God into the process. That's such a neat way of talking about it. How do you invite God into your process as you're pondering yeses and nos?
I would like to say that I sit and I'm reflective, but I don't do well with sitting and reflecting a lot of the time. It's usually in community and in conversation with people. It is the physical nudge or the physical asking from someone else that gives me a hint. It's less often kind of that quiet, still yes that I'm
but
hearing.
The encouragement from community people help, your people that, like you talked about with Phil, that encouragement, that nudge, that you could totally do this. We need that.
And so I think I'll name the rhythm for today because it's my least comfortable thing. The rhythm that we encourage you to think about today is to take 10 minutes, or if 10 seems like too much, it would for me take 5, to be in silence and reflect on where God may be calling you to say yes in your life. Sit with that, reflect on that, and may God speak to you either through the silence or through those around you today.